Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Phyllis Edwards. We're doing a little video today to talk about the Dothan City Schools reopening plan. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks, I think, since I talked with you last. We've been working carefully and steadily since that time. Certainly trying to gather as much information, read everything we could from the different entities that are giving out information. And just as we did our plan when we had to close in the spring, we've been working, a whole group of people have been working to format the next layer of how we return back to school. So that once we have finished, it's a 24-page plan. The plan will be posted on the website. Please know that there were a number of people that worked on this. I want to say thank you to a lot of the central office staff, most especially Lee Jacobs, Maria Johnson, Chris Duke, our Nurse James has been involved, our facilities and maintenance person, Tim, Holly, and Charla. A lot of people have been working on this. So this plan includes things that I think are obviously very important to the school system reopening. We were waiting, had everything as done as could possibly be, but we were waiting for a meeting to take place with the state school superintendent to try to make sure that we were hearing and getting as much information as possible. I'm going to add some of the main areas of the plan. But what I want to say is that as with everything else, with this situation, this is an unknown. It has been an unknown. Things had gotten better, and now, as you all know, things are again spiking. So we are going to continue to watch. Our plan, of course, is to reopen, to have students back to school in what we would call as normal a fashion as possible. That being said, we have to follow, of course, if the governor puts out any orders or there's any health orders or health rules or particular changes, then obviously we're going to follow the rules and do what we need to do. Primary consideration is trying to keep our children safe, and again, try to get them back to a level of normalcy. Once this plan is posted, I would like you to know that each of the principals have already been working on their individual school plans, which will also be posted. I would expect their plans to be posted sometime during this week. Those plans will coordinate with the system plan. And so the same headings or topics that I'm going to quickly review are the same ones that they will be using to answer those kinds of internal questions. So in our plan, first of all, we put a table of contents so that you could go ahead and look at the areas that you were concerned about or that you wanted to know about first. The departments that participated are listed with the key people. The schools are listed with the principals' names. We did an introduction, of course, and we have some guiding principles. One of the guiding principles is to be as transparent as possible. So that is what we believe we have done since the beginning of this. We have been sharing information on a consistent basis. And if you haven't gotten to see the videos, you might want to go back and look at them again. We've even had videos where we've had our facilities and operations person go through the kinds of cleaning that we plan to do and the kinds of supplies. And we've had different videos from different people to talk through issues. And those would be good to review. But soon I will also ask that our nurse, who's going to be a primary player as we move through this next season, Nurse James, who's already been working carefully with the nurses at each of the schools, she'll be interviewed for you by our public information officer. as we walk through. So we're going to continue to be transparent. That means that if there are any outbreaks or anything along those lines, we will, of course, be noticing and notifying if there are any changes from the state level, from the health department, from the governor. You will know about those, I'm sure, because you're watching the news as well. But we will go ahead and make sure that you have that information as quickly as possible. We want to listen. We want to be, of course, put safety first, which is, what all of us have been saying. We will need to be decisive. And of course, we have a pretty large school system of almost 9,000 students and 1,100 employees. Of course, no decisions are ever popular with everyone, but I understand that. I think this is one of those cases where decisions have to be made. So I'm going to get as many facts as I can possibly get. If I have to make a decision, I certainly will do so. And we will, again, continue to, tell you what we're doing and why we're doing it. First and foremost in this plan is wellness. We have sections on visitors. We will need to restrict visitors. So we're not going to be able to have just folks coming in that they have something that they want to mention or whatever. We're going to have to be very careful. Anyone that comes in is going to have to go through a temperature check and a screening of some sort in terms of a self-screening. We are going to have to be careful in terms of how people come into the building. I don't want folks to be congregating in a particular area. Obviously, that's for their health and parents' health, as well as the children's health and our employees' health. Would expect that anybody that comes to the school will have a face mask. And we started over a month ago to order face masks for our teachers, a number of face masks for each of them that are reusable, and for our employees as well. We also ordered a lot of cleaning supplies. We have different materials. We have spray bottles that will be given to each of our teachers. And we have larger units that will spray down bigger areas. Custodians are being taught and trained on what to do at this time. Buses will be cleaned in the mornings, and again after the runs. Every employee will be temperature checked. Will also go through a screening, and we will document that screening. So the sections are going to include, what our protocols are, how we need the family to help us. So this has to be a coordinated effort between home and school. With 9,000 students, it would be nearly impossible for us to try to temperature check every child as they walk through the door. So we're asking parents to please read through all of this, work with us, and you know your child better than anyone else. If you see that they have symptoms, and we have listed symptoms, if you see or know, and like any mother, I remember, feeling my child's head or my children's head, but you need to keep a temperature check thermometer on hand if your child has a fever or is exhibiting any symptoms. Keep the child home. Please don't send the child to school, because we're all going to be in a situation where we have to be extremely careful and vigilant. So we feel that we obviously, the parents are the first educators. The parents are the first folks in line. We need you to help us with this. And my understanding is that the State Department is going to be very, very careful and flexible, and we're going to be flexible as far as attendance. We'll have to, of course, record attendance, but I would never want any parent to feel like my child doesn't feel well, is a little bit under the weather. You need to keep the child home and not think to yourself, I have to get my child to school. What about attendance? So we will have all that information listed for you. We will be doing, as I say, employee screenings as anybody walks through the door. It will be temperature checks, but it'll also be screening for main kinds of symptoms. So cough, shortness of breath, chills, any kind of muscle pain, headache, sore throat. I know you've heard all of these, but anytime our employees walk through the door, each time they will be screened. I don't know if you know this, but we also did a real screening. It was a blood test that was antibodies, and we did this with a provider, and that happened for our school employees alone. And it was the Alabama clinic that worked with us, and a lot of our employees took advantage of that. Now that tells you whether you've been exposed or not. That's not the same as when you go and you think you have symptoms and you get screened to see if you actually have COVID. But this one tells you, have you been exposed? Do you have any of the antibodies? We may be doing that again with our employees. So that would be an extra step that we would take to try to help our employees, but also a key is to keep things as safe as possible. We're also making sure that we have guidance for our employees and our staff about what to look for and if they're feeling under the weather and what they are to do and who they are to contact. If anybody suspects, and if a child comes to school and we suspect that they're exhibiting symptoms, then we have protocols that we have listed in here. We have an area that we have designated where we will have the child isolation area for any kind of suspected COVID case, and we will follow health protocols. And they are in here for you to read. A lot has been said about social distancing, and I said I was going to be transparent, and I need to do so. We are a school setting. I think anybody would understand, as children come into school, it's going to be very hard to completely guarantee to all of everybody that we can keep children 6 feet from one another. First of all, just getting on a bus. If we were to social distance on a bus, we would only be able to transport 4 to 5 children at a time. We transport on any day about half of our students. So the bus driver will be screened. The children, we're hoping that and asking that parents and families are watching their children for symptoms and signs, that you keep a child home if they're feeling any symptoms or they're under the weather. But on buses and in school, in classrooms, it would be impossible to try to socially distance, keeping 6 feet apart. That being said, there have been masks ordered by the Department of Education, at least 3 for every student. Remember, I said we have almost 9,000 students. They should be delivered to us shortly, hopefully by the time school starts. And that's another issue because, as I said, we have ordered cleaning supplies, protective gear, the kinds of things that we know we're going to need. We already put in orders for additional technology. That was done a month ago. But everybody knows that we're all in this nation in the same situation. So a lot of people are ordering a lot of things. So while some things may be here in time, some things may not. We are getting our equipment and materials together now. And, we are certainly hopeful that we're going to be able to have what we need. What will happen is in each school plan, schools are making plans for how students will move. And for the most part, there won't be a lot of movement. For example, we're not going to be having large gatherings of students in, for instance, cafeterias or perhaps media centers. Cafeterias, we're going to have students be scheduled. So it may be a portion of the students going to the cafeteria on certain days. The rest of the students will be eating in their classroom at that time. And we already have been working with, and she has also made a video, but we will do more. We've also been working with our food service CMP director to get her input. So the structure will be that for the most part, we will have students eating in classrooms when they can, almost every day. So that takes out the whole piece of having maybe 100 children in a setting at one time. So anywhere that, for instance, you would think there will be a lot of students, we are already thinking about how to separate that out and try to make sure that as students pass in halls or as they come to the office for some reason, that we're not having large masses of students in one place at one time. So you will also read about that. As I said, face masks have been ordered. We ordered 3 for all of our folks, and the State Department is sending another 3 or 4. Gloves will be required by school nurses, the custodians, and the food service workers. Every teacher will be given spray materials for, spraying down their area, spraying down desks. But, we have a plan to clean every school, every day, certain amounts of time. We are very concerned about the social and emotional well-being of the children, and that's why we're trying to keep things as close to normal once they come back as possible. But we are going to be talking to our guidance counselors and asking that they develop some videos and some resources, but also go into the classrooms and talk to our students. Operations and cleanliness is a huge piece. There's a whole section on that. We've talked about classrooms, and we talk about shared workspaces and offices, how the facilities will be cleaned, what the custodians will do, and so on. The night shift custodian will spray down playground equipment and different type of fogger that will sanitize all the equipment. And we do have a particular type of material that has been shown to kill this virus and other viruses. We hope to have hand sanitizing stations all around. As those come in, we will place them around. You will probably see us place some shielding, certainly around those areas where people might be coming in regularly, although we hope that we can keep it down to a minimum in terms of plexiglass and that sort of thing, guards up. And that's just happening over the course of this summer. I already said that we want to work closely with parents and we need you to help us. Breakfast, for the most part, will be provided in the classroom. At Dothan Prep and Dothan High, breakfast will be a grab and go. At Dothan High School, we are working on an area that might be, I hope will be ready in time. That's an outdoor area for outdoor type of eating and seating. And of course, not everybody will get to go out there, but we will do scheduling. And, Bill Singleton will work on his plan as to how that's going to be put into place. The menus will remain basically the same, but things like soup, grits, and other things that could be wet will probably be eliminated to reduce spills. And we hope to offer the menu and put those online. There's always disposable utensils. And as I said, we are trying to work on outdoor seating. Technology is a huge piece. The reason why it's a huge piece is because we're offering parents the choice. If a parent is really not feeling comfortable still, then we understand, and we will have, as you look at this plan, there's going to be a place for you to go in. If you would like to have a virtual program or a remote learning situation, then there's a place in this plan that we'll ask you to go on, put in the link, and sign up. Again, we don't know at this point, and the principals will be reaching out to parents to see, because we need to get a hard and fast number. For those that choose to take the remote or the virtual option, we have, for those that don't have their own technology, we have also, about a month ago, ordered additional laptops with the built-in, kind of Wi-Fi situation. Of course, with technology, if anybody is going to use this option and they absolutely need to have a Chromebook, we have put in here what the instructions will be, and there would have to be a use of equipment sign off, because obviously we would want these need to be used for the purpose of education. And we will track who they go to and when they're picked up. If a parent decides to go to do remote or virtual, and it's called these things for a reason, because at the elementary level it'll be more of a situation of a Google Classroom type of work, where an assigned teacher will have your particular child and other children that are virtual, and we will have a schedule, and they will be teaching and going through. And of course, this time, as not with last time, because that was at the end of the year, but this time we will be checking on assignments, because we will need to give grades. At the high school and middle school level, if you choose to have a virtual situation, we have purchased another platform. It's called Edgenuity. We hope to have the principals share that with you. Those will actually be intact courses that students will be able to be online and take. Again, they will need to be monitored by our teachers, and there will be grades given. But all of this we have done already. So it was important to get going with the technology as quickly as possible, which we have done. We've ordered another maybe 900 laptops, and as I said, we've already purchased a flexible, what we think is a good flexible virtual program. Instruction, I've heard from a few people, when will school begin? We had put out a calendar a while back, but I went back to the board and said, I may need more time. I don't think there's anyone that would not understand that. We have delayed the opening of school by 1 week. Maybe people will say, well, that's ridiculous. What's going to happen in 1 week? Well, 1 week may allow us to have those things that were ordered well over a month ago right there in our hands in the schools. And for us to have our teachers and our staff and our nurses and all the folks that we need to have absolutely trained on this plan and on our procedures, more time to have that. Teachers will begin on August 11th. Students will begin on August 17th. That's a delay of 1 week. When you get, and you may get the plan this week from your principal, you will also get a revised calendar. In order to do, because we cannot not have the right amount of school days, that's not being waived. So in order to do this delay of a week, we needed to push back a lot in the first part of the year so that the two halves of the year would be somewhat equal. That means that the fall break, which is still in there, is a week later. But I need you to look at the calendar along with us so that you can see what we're talking about. But just to repeat, because I know this is going to be important, teachers will begin August 11th, students will begin August 17th. For those that do not choose to be remote or virtual, and again, this month we're going to be spending time asking you to sign up. If you sign up for virtual or remote, we ask you to do that for the full first quarter, which is 45 days. At the end of the 45 days, we will come back around and say, what would you like to do? Are you feeling more comfortable? Has the COVID picture changed enough in the state of Alabama that you're ready to bring your child back to school? That is a natural break, 45 days. So at each 45-day break, you will be asked, if you're doing virtual or remote, what would you like to do for the next 45 days? If you choose to keep your child out and doing virtual for the whole half of the year, then we will accommodate that. Once you get into a third 9 weeks, and think about that, that would be between January and March. If you complete virtually a third 9 weeks from January until, say, March or February, I'd say March, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to, say, okay, my child wants to come back for the last quarter. At this point, I think we need to keep things moving, and you need to probably do the whole year virtual. Okay, so we're going to be saying to you, do you want to do virtual or remote? Understandable. We get it. We'll do that. 45 days, you get to make your choice again. 45 days, you get to make your choice again. Once you get into that third 9 weeks, we would expect you're going to be virtual or remote through the end of the year. There will be grades given. There will be monitoring. If you decide that you're not going to do that and you just want to come to school, have your child come to school, that's fine. We're going to be, trying to act and do things as we normally do. And a lot has been said recently. I'm sure you've all seen it from the experts about how important it is to, go ahead and be as normal as possible and get children back to school. So we're going to do that. And we just need to find out from parents which way they're going to go. Now, being as transparent as possible, we have questions in here like, what happens if an outbreak occurs? That could happen. It could happen in a classroom. It could happen in grade levels. It could happen in entire wings. We really don't know. If that happens, we want you to know that we will be prepared to notify you, to contact the health department, because we will be working very closely with the local health department to get their sense of what we need to do. If we need to close for a few days so that we can clean, we will tell you that. If it's something of a larger nature and we need to close down for longer, then we will be ready to switch back to virtual and pick up. And I thought last year, and we did do a survey, and it seemed to be that parents said to us that they thought, for the most part, that we did a good job. I know you can't always, not everybody feels that way, but for the most part, the survey seemed to indicate that to us. We will shift back, and I thought for a rather large school system, we did a pretty good job of shifting pretty quickly. Since we did that, we have a lot of teachers that have gotten the hang of it, been trained. We're continuing to do more training this summer, but I feel like it will be, even better this year. We hope that doesn't happen. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. What I am going to pledge to you is that we are going to tell you what's going on, obviously. If we have to close down, if there's a complete, shutdown, and that would be a bigger picture, then we will have to take the time, shut down, switch to virtual. If that subsides and it looks like things are getting better and we start to reopen, let's say that happened, it could happen maybe in October, November. I don't know. None of us know. What we might do when we re-enter is think about re-entering in a more controlled way, for example. And I hope we don't have to do this, but if we do, we may see something like, 50% of the student body in a particular school going to school on Mondays and Tuesdays, 50% going to school on Wednesdays and Thursdays, Fridays being days for complete cleaning of the facility. But I want to reiterate, our main objective is to hold school as naturally as possible. Please hear me correctly. I am saying we will have school. We will open school. On those days that I told you, on August 17th, students come back. If parents want to keep them remote or virtual, we will know about that. They can do that. I am talking about, as you read in the plan, later on, as we start going through the school year in the fall, if something happens that is a larger breakout and we have to close down completely, then is where I will be in touch with you to tell you how we're going to reopen back up. But for this reopening, we will reopen on the 17th for students normally. We will do as much social distancing as we can. We will watch cafeterias, media, any place where children gather in larger groups. And we will, of course, do our health checks and our cleaning. So we just want you to know what our plans are. In this plan, there's a lot of information. What we're trying to do is we're really calling this kind of a blended learning or a virtual learning approach. We want you to have the opportunity or the choice. If you have a child that is medically fragile, there's an entire section in the plan on this, and we need you to read it. We have different units. We have autistic units, behavioral units. We have laid out what our plans are and how we will continue. And obviously, we are doing things in a fair and equitable manner. So most of what you've heard me say, overall, big picture on the plan, is exactly what you will be reading. So that is where we are. We have different sections for some particular populations like English language learners. And beyond that, we also want you to know, and some of you do know because maybe your children are already in athletics, that our teams that are practicing right now all submitted a plan. We are following the Athletic High School Association guidelines. We are also talking to the city about what we will do when, for instance, football resumes. They are having practice right now. They are distancing. They are wearing masks. The students have been trained on cleaning, we're taking care of equipment. All of that seems to be running pretty well. What we don't know is whether we'll be allowed to have people in the stadiums. This is nationwide. We also know that the city has done a very, very good job of already designating areas like the Civic Center, and you saw that maybe if you were at graduation, if you had a child that graduated, they've already done the distancing in the Civic Center, which is why we did about 7 graduations. That being said, we're talking already to the folks at the city that run the football stadium as to how many seats there would actually be that we would be able to use due to social distancing. And it may be a situation, we're not sure yet, but we want you to know that we're checking into that right now. It may be a situation where we give tickets to, for instance, the band parents and the football players' parents, and that might be all we can accommodate. We just don't know. We don't know if we're going to have any away games. We have no idea, but we want to be as careful as possible. And I am still telling the principals and coaches that we need to keep our numbers down. Well, there are some schools that have 100 staff members. I'm asking that you don't have 100 staff members right now as you may be doing professional development. Please keep doing the virtual trainings, or if you're having people come to training, distance. And so you may want to bring in half of them at one time and half at another. That's where we are right now as we're in the midst of so many things that are going on. So the gist of all of this is that it's I think, a pretty complete plan. We, of course, will, again, post this on the website, and we're going to continue to monitor things as they go on in the state. And this is an unknown for everyone. So I hope you know that we are doing the very best that we can. We will continue to do these kinds of things where we get the word out. And, we all just have to be as careful, as flexible, and kind of as nimble as possible, making the decisions that from your end that are best for your children, and us making the decisions, big picture, that are meant for the best for all of our students and our employees as well. So I wanted to give you that overview, tell you that you will see this posted by the end of the week. You will see the principal's school plans posted. I also want to remind people to please take whatever opportunity you can to give us the right information for you, where you're located, what your phone number is, because we will be reaching out, principals will be reaching out and being in touch with you. But also, if you haven't registered and you want to come register, you want to be sure that you're within the system. And of course, we're a public school system, so of course we're not going to turn people down. But you may not be with us right now, but you may say, well, since they are going to be doing a virtual program or a remote program as well, I may want to join them and become part of that. If you do, please go on the plan, please find that area, and please register with the school. However, we need to do that. If you have an incoming kindergarten child or an early childhood pre-K child, we need to have you register. And principals have set out their plans for how they're going to do that. We are hiring people as we speak. That happens all summer. There are always going to be resignations, and there will be folks that are not going to come back, or maybe they go somewhere else, and we don't want to lose anybody. But at the same time, please know that your principals are doing their work. They are hiring to make sure that we have a good full staff for when we reopen. And again, those dates, just so you remember, August 11th for our teachers and staff, August 17th for students. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. We appreciate you and your support of the schools and the school system. We appreciate the community support, and we know that you understand that we're all, trying to do the very best that we can do, and we do need your help, and we will communicate very much to the best of our ability. Thank you again for your time. Please stay safe and read the plan. Thank you.